Welcome to Film Phreeks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
And Eddie Williams.
And tonight we're doing another Netflix review of a film that has actually been getting quite a lot of attention based on the trailers. We're going to be talking about The Highwaymen, which is directed by John Lee Hancock and stars Kevin Costner, Woody Harrelson, Kathy Bates, and among others, and is based on the true story of the two Texas Rangers, Frank Hamer and Manny Gold, played by Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson, who were the famous Texas Rangers who went to track down Bonnie and Clyde from the 1930s.
Yep.
And this basically, unlike other movies that deal with the kind of both sides of the law enforcement and the criminals, this one they're focusing slowly on the two Texas Rangers, and it's up to them to try to get to them and track them down as they go along. And along their way, they come across different witnesses and things, that clues leading up to Bonnie and Clyde. Now, here's some backstory. Now, like we were saying, this movie was directed by John Lee Hancock, who, if you may remember, he directed other movies such as The Founder with Michael Keaton, The Rookie, Saving Mr. Banks, and also The Blind Side. So the guy is mainly known for drama films, but it really got me interested from the trailers because I like that we're still getting this trend where we're bringing back these based on true story films about famous criminals and stuff. I'm glad that I like movies that deal with that. But what really got me interested was that based on the cast alone, you got Costner and Woody Harrelson, but also just the idea of these two, just a movie solely based on these two cops going after these criminals, like really piqued my interest.
Yeah, and now me, other than the Warren Beatty's Bonnie and Clyde, that's the only one I remember watching. I know Bonnie and Clyde has been adapted a lot, and either if it's been mainstream, I believe a lot of it, they had a lot of straight-to-video ones too. And if I'm not remember correctly, they also made them back in like the 30s, didn't they?
I can't really remember. They may have, but the most famous one I can remember is the Warren Beatty one, which I haven't fully watched, but I have seen pieces of that film, and from what I've seen, it is very good from what I've heard. Yeah,
exactly. And then they've also paid homage to Bonnie and Clyde, where they did more romantic killing and just like the Warren Beatty one was not really, it has its serious drama, but it was also had a lot of romance and a lot of, like, they were having a blast, should I say. And it was more about, a good, the attractive man and the attractive woman.
Yeah.
That's what they were known for. So this one, what got me interested was, for one, we're going to have a Bonnie and Clyde that really is sidelined because it's about the cops after them. And for two, it was taking a Bonnie and Clyde darker tone.
Yeah, that's what really threw me off because from the trailers, I thought it would just be like your typical standard police procedural movie, but upon watching this film, I can honestly say that this movie actually goes it really takes a really gritty feel and a very kind of like film noir type of feel of like old school police movies that I like.
Yes, and I will say that after watching this movie was really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely, it was really, really good. Now, to get my pros out of the way, the performances of both alone, Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson, like they carry this movie together perfectly. Like, this is like watching.
Oh yeah.
I haven't watched the first season of True Detective, but it feels like it's.
That's what what I was getting into. While True Detective really is still a lot darker and more like fucking gray and just dark. This one is close to that. It's not on that level, but it does remind me of that. I loved how they did the whole season 1 True Detective take.
Yeah,
we're on the grittiness, and like I said, like you were saying, Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner, they blended fucking perfectly together in this film, and you can't go wrong with them two. I knew them two were going to work pretty well together.
Absolutely, and a lot. I had me, like always, Woody Harrelson does have his comedic moments that had me laughing at times. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a scene, let's just say, that they start shooting guns in the woods, and
well, there's a little backstory where they got a lot of history, and something happened 20 or something years prior. And basically, if you guys know somewhat of the story, the Highwaymen, the cops, the famous cops that went after Bonnie and Clyde, they're known for being like really good with shooting guns and shit. So that scene you're talking about is the scene where they haven't been doing anything in 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that was pretty funny. They were missing like crazy and stuff.
Yeah.
But I love the way it was shot.
Absolutely.
Like we were just talking about. It's it's clear cut. It's almost like watching No Country for Old Men. It was almost like a Coen movie.
That's what I was thinking too,
like
because the dialogue in this film, while it's not on that level of Coen Brothers, it still has kind of like some dark humor spread out and like kind of snarky dialogue that I kind of got into, or I did get into, that really kind of drew me along with the film. Now, there are a couple of cons, I'll say, just little small things I'll get to later with some of the dialogue. But as far as
good things, I love the score to this movie.
Yeah, the score was composed by Thomas Newman, who did the score.
I mean, it had this sense of like it's kind of hard, like you said. It's like kind of like Green Mile-ish, Revenant-ish. It was a great score. It was catchy. It made the mood like depressing because I mean you're seeing another thing I like to fucking praise with that. What I was about to say is the brutality in this film. Holy shit.
Yeah, this movie gets really fucking brutal, especially, there's a sequence that I'm not going to go into detail, but I was just like, it reminded me of like one of the shootouts from what was it? It's like you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie all of a sudden, basically.
Yeah, I know, man. Golly, that shit was brutal. But there's other stuff, because you guys know Bonnie and Clyde, they went on a murderous rampage, and you see a bunch of people getting fucking their face blasted and all that shit. I'm like, damn. Yeah,
and plus also, going back to the score real quick, the score was composed by Thomas Newman, who I've admired as a composer, because he's done music for several of my favorite movies, including American Beauty, The Green Mile, and things like that. And he also did Road to Perdition, which if you ever seen that film, that's also set in the 30s, that has a very similar musical score. And it gives you that kind of like depressing type of mood, basically.
Yep.
But yeah, going back to the brutality, man, that I was really shocked by all the shit they did throughout this movie. I mean,
that ending too is where it gets like, whoa.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing I got to praise too is the way that how we're seeing the things unfold with how they're basically like the events like surrounding them. It really, I thought, it was executed really well, how the Bonnie and Clyde are basically like their presence is known, but you're really feeling they feel like a force of nature, basically, because you can.
That's what I was about to highly praise the most. I love the take on how like you got them investigating, they're going point A to point B. But it's like a force of nature. Like Bonnie and Clyde is just in the darkness. You don't know who they are. You don't see them. You see their shadows. It was almost like watching like a Bonnie and Clyde version of Halloween.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're like the shape, and until the end, it's like, whoa! I love the atmosphere they're going with them. It actually kind of sends chills on your back. Kind of is like a more like a terrifying Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, and another praise I give too is that the movie does have like there's emotion that's thrown in there because especially in one scene, and there's a famous actor that I was really shocked to see come in one part that I hadn't seen in like forever, and I was glad that this person showed up, and like it actually kind of had me on the verge, not on tears, but it really felt like you really felt emotional about it.
In that.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to spoil it, but you do feel for him.
Yeah, and so the movie really caught me with that. Now, if I had like really just like any minor cons, I'd say that at the very beginning, at least for a little while, the pacing can be a little slow, the way it kind of builds up at first. But as the movie goes along, it starts to get better and better, and I became so invested.
I will admit the pacing can get you, but I was still like really invested with the characters, the suspense of not the force of nature of Bonnie and Clyde, and the investigating story of them, just going everywhere and it just not working out. It's getting worse and worse. So the pacing, while it does get you sometimes, it got me sometimes, I still can give it somewhat of a pass because I was still in the movie.
Oh, I was too.
It does have kind of a slow pace to it.
Yeah,
and one other con I probably had, and I won't say it's much of a, it's not much of a con. I mean, it's kind of a con, and that was it wasn't really. They built up all that like they're going to get in some massive war type thing, and it really kind of ended quick.
Yeah, it could have, been a little longer, but I get where they were going because...
But it's actually based off a true story, so
yeah, they
really caught them off guard, so you can't really lie and say it was something, different.
Well, and also in real life, too, what's interesting was that I actually looked this up. One of the other biggest praise I have is that they actually, there are actual real-life locations that they shot this at. That they actually went to, which I thought was very cool.
Went to where it actually happened. That was awesome.
Yeah, and my other little minor con.
I gotta give them credit at the paying homage at the end too.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, there's really more that they could have like really kind of done more with, but because like you were saying, it was very kind of short lived. But I get why they did it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, that's really just my minor really cons I have. And with that, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna give the movie a low phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter.
Yeah, I'm going low phenomenal grade in Film Freaks meter. It's my first phenomenal grade of the year, and I was figuring it would happen with Avengers, but I saw this, and I gotta give it credit where it's due. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I do too. All right, and for those of you who have also seen The Highwaymen, and let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel, and check out some other reviews here and our website at filmfreaks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.
Later.